The first thing I would like to do is say a little bit about the fact that we do not have public comments today, and that's because this is a special called meeting as opposed to a regular meeting. And it has been the practice of this board to, or the procedure involved is that we only have public comments at regular meetings. We had requests to include public comments, and I had to consider that as the board chair. I don't consider it my responsibility to change the procedure or practice of the board on my own. I think that is something that takes a majority of the board to vote on that. Someone else might have a differing opinion of that, but that's my opinion. And also requested some legal advice as to whether or not our attorney we have on retainer thought we should change, and he suggested that we continue with what we had, since that has been the practice that we had. So that is why there is not public comment today. That does not mean this board cannot change that procedure. All it takes is a motion and a majority vote of this board to change that procedure, but I did not feel it was my responsibility to change that on my own, since it was a board practice or procedure as opposed to just adding a business item to the agenda. So with that explanation then, I think we'll move into the regular agenda, and we only have one item on the agenda today. Item 3 and under new business is the airframe and power technology program deactivation that was being presented by the administration. So at this time, I'm going to turn it over to the administration to fill us in with what information you have.
Before we jump too far into it, I do have a question, a little bit of clarification on our policies, if you wouldn't mind.
Right ahead. I think I'm not certain. It depends. It's not on the agenda to talk about the policy, but
Well, no,
since it refers to this,
it refers directly to what we're doing today. I had requested, I was one of the board members who had requested that we add public comments. Now, in my final, as far as precedent is concerned, in my final semester here as a division chair, I spoke before the board in the public comment section at a special board meeting, and it wasn't on the agenda. In fact, it was not Luis, but Paul, who said, yeah, come on up, and I spoke. So as far as setting a precedent, it's sort of been done. Now, as far as the policy is concerned, it says under BD local, any board member may request that a subject be included on the agenda for a meeting, and the college president shall include on the agenda of any meeting all board member requested topics that have been timely submitted. Now, as far as timely submitted, in that same section, we have the 11th business day, but of course this was a special meeting. It says that for special meetings and regular meetings. There weren't 11 days in which to, make such a request. So I submitted my request. I didn't get a response, so I had to do a follow-up the next day. And under the following section, this under preparation, it says the chairperson shall not have the authority to remove from the agenda a subject requested by a board member without that board member's specific authorization. So I had requested that we have public comments. Now, the only issue that I see is the 11-day issue. But by that reasoning, there is no other vehicle in the policy by which we could create an agenda with topics on the agenda outside of that 11 days. There's no other way to do special meetings. Emergency meetings, yes, but special meetings, no. So before we proceeded, I wanted to make sure that maybe I had misinterpreted this, and I wanted to put it before you, the rest of the board, so that we could avoid violating our own policy.
Well, I too requested that it be put onto the meeting for tonight, but did not get a response in terms of requesting public speaking.
My reasoning was not because of the 11-day rule, but because it was not an agenda item. It was a procedure of the board, and that was my reasoning for not including it. Not that because I did not consider it as an item under a topic under business, an item.
But that's not what you told
was,
me.
and I may have been wrong about the fact that we had never done it before, as apparently you're correcting me, but I did not remember that. And I tend to not check with our attorney and get his advice and not just bypass it. I tend to take his advice, so.
Well, there's no vehicle in the policy by which the school's attorney determines or dictates what we have on our agenda, just
No.
us. And
True.
I didn't receive a response at all, so
Well,
I thought it was
I
important.
personally never got your request until Saturday when you texted me, to get to me. I mean, it went through the college president, but me personally, I got his, but not either one of y'all's.
Well, the president told me she had spoken with you.
Well, yes, she spoke with me and told me that there were more than one board member who had requested it, but in our discussions, we still felt that was not an agenda item, it was more a procedure item. That interpretation, I could be wrong, I'm not saying I'm 100% right by any means, but that was my interpretation.
Well, in light of the fact that I'm not the only board member who had wished for public comments to be included, obviously this is an important issue for the community, and I have concerns about I want a broader scope of information upon which to make decisions. So I would move that we put this meeting off until we've had an opportunity to redo the agenda in such a way that public has an opportunity to speak before the board.
Okay, we have a motion,
I second it.
and we have a second. Now, we have under discussion, I would just say from my own personal feelings, I would think we need to at least have the information presented that the administration is gonna present to us, so that when other people are presenting information, we can compare those notes. I don't mind, talking about it with public comment, but I don't see the need to cancel this. This is just me speaking right now, not any other thing. I don't see the need to not receive the information we're gonna receive. We can receive that information and then have another meeting should we desire. That's just my personal opinion. I don't know what everybody else thinks, but that's my opinion.
Chairman Losi, I could not agree with you more. While I am sensitive to the interests of the community that's out here, and I want to hear what you guys have to say, I understand the positions of my fellow trustees. I think it would be a colossal waste of my time not to allow our administration to proceed with their presentation at this time.
My only concern is, do we have any kind of timeline? Are we under a time frame that we have to make a decision?
No, but there's some misinformation out already, and the sooner we get this information to you, the better we're able to respond to questions. I can't take any action related to that until the board gives me direction.
And then the only other thing I might wanna say is, when you read this, cause we were talking before the meeting, my interpretation is that any board member may request that a subject be included on the agenda for a meeting, and the college president shall include on the agenda of any meeting all board member requested topics. That is exactly what you're saying. This is not a topic, it's just.
That's my interpretation.
So if we're gonna-
I could be wrong. I'm not saying I'm not.
Then
That's my
perhaps we should
interpretation.
Maybe
put
this
that
is
on
a
a
policy
future
that we
agenda
need to
item.
work with.
Yeah.
If we're gonna change the policy, and everybody agrees that we need to change it.
Yeah, I mean, that was what I said at the start. If we wanna change it, I think a majority of the board needs to change it, not me. That was
So maybe
what I
just-
said. So.
My concern is exactly what Dr. Espinosa said, avoiding misinformation.
I would like to hear the administration's presentation tonight.
I would too.
So that's what I would like to move forward. Again, we heard part of this conversation earlier meeting, I guess that was this month. Okay. We have another meeting coming up in a couple of weeks. We can hear more information at that point. We do not necessarily have to make a decision tonight, depending on what we hear. I also got from somebody handed me this, which I have read. So I think we need to move forward with tonight's meeting.
Let's,
Could I have one of those?
I got it when I walked through the door. Somebody handed it to me.
I didn't get anything.
Well, we have a motion and a second.
yeah, any further discussion, that's what anybody else? If there's no further discussion, then the motion on the floor is to, cancel this meeting and have another meeting with, public comments. That's what that may not be the exact wording, but that's the gist of it.
That's good enough, yes, sir.
Okay, if there's no further discussion, all those in favor of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, 2-4, all those against, please say aye.
Aye.
It's 4, so the motion fails. So, at this time, I would ask the administration to proceed with presenting us with, information that you want.
We included some background information to the board. We have a more comprehensive review, a more current review, and including workforce. Some of the information that I had in there was from the end of last year. We have your quarterly updated information, and I have that handout available for the board. We have Dr. Kevin Baer, who's going to present this information. He's the direct supervisor of the program. And I've asked him to take the lead in presenting the research behind the recommendation that the administration is making and that the board is considering at this time.
Thank you.
Madam President, Mr. Chairman, board members, it's always a difficult thing to talk about closing a program. And believe me, if there was any other alternative, I would be the champion behind it. The aviation program opened in the fall of 2008. The purpose was to provide a trained workforce for Sikorsky Aviation, the repair and refurbishment of used military helicopters at the facility located in Chase Field, Lee County, Texas. In 2011, Sikorsky closed the operation and CBC no longer provided airframe or power plant trained graduates to the company. The highest number of students, excuse me, the highest number of students and seats. This is not the number of students, this is the number of classes that a student took. So if a student was fully enrolled in the program may have taken 3 to 4 to 5 different classes. That's what I'm talking. It may be the same student in multiple chairs. At that point in time, there were 128 in 12 classes with an average of a little over 10 per class in the spring of 2011. In the spring of 2015, the number of students and seats had reduced to 47 in 7 classes with an average of 6.7 per class. Completers, since the start of the program. By completers, I mean anyone who obtained a certificate or an associate's degree. Of the 840 total classes, folks in classes, and there was approximately 55 students from the inception of the spring through spring 2015, with an average of about 8 students per year population. Excuse me, I apologize. With a 8-year average of 7.5 students per class. There were 33 of these received level 1 certificates, and 4 have received AAS degrees since 2008. Funds spent on the program from 2008 to 2015, we received a JET grant, which is an employment jobs type of a grant for Texas. We received $148,026.80. Coastal Bend College was required to match. We matched $225,969.19. We also received a Texas Military Preparedness Grant, also known as a TMPG, for the total of $449,969.19. CBC General Fund budgeted for that time period was $410,018.30 for a sum total of $1,237,969.19. $233,983.48.
Excuse me, Kevin, does that
Yes, ma'am.
include the grant? The
Yes,
match?
ma'am, that includes the match.
So it's the match and then the 410 less the 225, is that what you're saying?
No, ma'am?
No.
All of those
Add
add-
those
add-
up.
all four of those.
So the match is in addition to the
Match is what we
410,000?
had to pull out of our pocket.
Okay,
And it was required to obtain the initial
gotcha,
dollars.
okay, just wanna make sure we're not.
No problem.
Okay.
Funds brought into the program 2008 through 2015, state formula funding, $280,484.73. I can try and explain to you, state formula funding. You have in your packet, in the supplement area, a listing of what the state of Texas pays currently. You also have it for the last, almost through the inception of the program. When we first started the program, we were making some significant matching funds, or excuse me, state formula funding on it. That is reduced. We went from, and I can look at the stats, forgive me. I believe it was about 76 cents. The current funding is now, I've got that, it was another sheet. In any case, our current funding is 49 cents, 49%, excuse me, not percent. If they're telling us they're gonna give us $10, we're really getting 5, a little less, 49, okay, $4.90. I am a fairly intelligent person, and I don't understand why the state does this, but they do. So that is sometimes an issue that is confusing. State funding we brought in, like I said, $280,484.73. Tuition for aviation classes was right at $215,000. For a sum total of just below $500,000, $495,484.73. I didn't do the subtraction math. Perhaps I didn't want to. Employment opportunities. I'm sure we're going to get some issues over this. I checked the U.S. Labor website, which is www.careeronestop.org. It is the official U.S. Department of Labor website. I researched the Coastal Bend area under the title of aircraft mechanic. 7 current positions posted for aircraft mechanic. All of them are in NAS Kingsville through a company called L3 Communication Corp. One is entry level, which means that it is available to a graduate student. Statewide, again, the same search. I came up with 162 positions available for aircraft mechanic. 54 of those published positions were aircraft mechanic power or airframe position listings requiring AMP and an FFA through a FAA certification. Of those 54 employment listings, I went through all 162. 54 of those were, as I said, aircraft mechanic power airframe positions. The rest were pilot. I don't know how that got under aircraft mechanic, but there was a pilot position, there was instructor positions. I invite you to look at the list because I've included it, just so you'll see. Of those 54 employment listings for the state of Texas, only 7 could be categorized as entry-level positions for which CBC graduates would meet minimum employment qualifications. 47 of the listings required at least 3 years of experience in the specific field of the listing. Others were supervisory or master-level positions. Finally, if the board decides to continue with closure, one of the things that we would be responsible to do, in a responsible manner, would be a teach-out plan. Now, the state of Texas and the FAA all require a teach-out plan. We have not come up with, we've looked a little bit at teach-out plans, but we are waiting for a decision by the board before we go any further. There were some issues about teach-out plans, those can be adjusted as needed as required by the board. I know that was short, it was sweet, and I know that there is a report out there that will probably try to dissuade you from believing my report. All I can tell you is that I honestly and diligently prepared these numbers. I can prove the numbers. I've got spreadsheets if you need them, proving up the way that we calculate. I bring to your attention supporting information that I did include. The first is a rundown of enrollment, classes delivered, number of classes that are at or over 10 enrollment, and completers. And then I went through semester by semester, 20 semesters, 904 people in seats, okay? These are duplicates, remember, it's the same folks taking the same classes. Number of classes delivered were 116. Total number of classes at or over 10 enrollment were 42 over those 20 semesters. We gave out 37 completers. 33 were level 1s, as I said earlier, and 4 AAS degrees. The reason that I went back and pulled some more information, by the way, from the workforce site, I had done the same thing in December, preparing for program reviews from the Texas Workforce website again. And it showed one position within our service area at that time that was open. And it was in Kingsville for a level 4 mechanic. Listing showed approximately 140 aviation positions for the state of Texas, the lion's share of available employment opportunities being in the DFW and the Houston areas. Of these positions, I identified approximately 20 of those positions as entry-level A&P mechanic positions for which our graduates may qualify within the state. The next page you will see is it just a degree translation to show you the number and type of certificates that were awarded and the ultimate number below, which is 37. The next one tells you what type.
Dr. Bear, can
yes,
I stop you right there?
Yes,
We
ma'am.
go back to the certificate.
Yes, ma'am.
Is there a certificate in airframe and a certificate in power plant?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, how many of them, is there a prerequisite, if we do airframe, then the next one is power plant, or can you do power plant first and then take airframe, or
Yes, you
is
can.
there an order?
You can.
Is there a preference?
They start to split. They've got some commonality of courses, and then it depends on which way that you want to head. A&P, getting them both is always the best solution.
Right.
Because then you're not only airframe, but you're power plant certified, it's A&P licensed with FAA. And that's where all of it, well, I'm not gonna say all, the lion's share of employers are looking for.
Yes, sir. So how many of these were airframe and how many of these were power plant, or do we know, and does it?
Yes, ma'am. If you will take a look at this page right here.
Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that right?
It will tell you, airframe and power technology, level certificate 1, airframe and power technology, AAS. And what these are, when you get down to, these are all going to be mainly airframe. Our power plant was just certified by the FAA not long ago.
All right, so basically what our students are taking are the airframe at this point.
No, they're taking power plant now,
Okay.
yes ma'am, but realize that these are historic
2015?
numbers.
Okay, and we didn't have it before?
They're taking airframe now.
Yes,
They're taking airframe.
yes, they are.
Okay.
And I
You said
agree
power
with you.
plant, right?
I'm with you.
Okay, so, but my question is the power plant, are they taking, or have, are our student, I'm seeing airframe and power technology.
Yes,
And
ma'am.
is there a power plant,
You see, down as you get into the lower
the
numbers,
bottom four?
you'll start to see the
Okay.
power plant level 1 certificate and the power plant AAS degree.
And how many of those were given out as opposed to how many just airframe? Do you know the number?
No, ma'am, I don't.
Okay, that's fine, I was just curious.
No, ma'am, I don't, I'm sorry.
But you said the power plant was just recently, like,
It was certified by FAA.
Right,
We actually
just
had it,
recently.
we just
Right.
had it certified.
right, okay.
We've now been able to certify it.
Meaning that they could take the test here.
Yes,
And pass it.
meaning that they can get licensed by the FAA.
Okay, but before that, they couldn't, they had to go someplace else to get licensed? Do they have to go test someplace else, or could they not be licensed just by taking the program?
They would have to test, I believe, under,
18 months experience working on the line.
thank you.
So they leave without any kind of a, they left without any kind of a immediate.
Well, they can still do the 18
Yeah, they
and
don't have-
get their, yes.
And I guess, I don't really understand some of your numbers here, but right now, we have, how many students enrolled, 13? Is
Yes,
that what we
ma'am.
have, 13? And I was looking at your figures, and I did do the math. So since 2008, the college has spent over $1,018,983.48. Over and above everything that we've kind of the college has been in the hole that amount,
Yes,
$1
ma'am.
million. And then you've got, so if you take the ones that actually completed the class, and maybe that's not the accurate, and that's my question. When you're saying 33 received a level 1 certificate and 4 received an AAS, that's 37 people.
That's out of the estimated 55 total students that have gone through the program from its inception till spring of 2015.
So it's a total of 55. Do we have, and those are the only ones that got certificates, so they
Well,
took the class, but you didn't get
37
any?
out of 55.
Okay, so 36, $27,540 per student is what we're spending for the students to get their degrees?
If your math is right, yes, ma'am.
Well, let me ask a follow-up question.
Sure.
You asked how much we had spent.
Right,
Right.
and I wanna make sure
Well,
that.
what about the JET grant? The only thing, I see the CBC general fund budgeted funds and the CBC match, but, the TMPG and the JET grant, I don't know if I
No,
understand the question.
well, because what I did is I took the total amount of monies. I got you, you're right, you're absolutely right.
Because we didn't
We've
spend
got,
it.
we didn't spend it all out of our pockets.
Right.
It
No,
came
we
out
got
of some of
grants
this,
for-
it came out of some of the grants. Okay, that makes
And
sense.
the amount of our,
Well, the grant is
the match
to
and
be
the
spent.
and the
The
budget.
match, okay, let me do that math, let's see what that turns out to be.
About 636,000.
Yeah,
636,000? Did you get that too?
yeah, 635,987.49.
635 what?
987.49.
So what does it come out to per student?
Gotta get that.
Students attended at different levels, a level 1 certificate, so 1 year, the level of the associates is a full 2-year level.
In both programs.
And help me with this airframe and power plant again. If I wanted to do both, does it take me 4 years?
No, ma'am.
Does it
Think
take me
that's
2
great.
years?
you can do it in two.
You can do it too.
That's true doing, you're going to summer, you're going to summer school.
Okay, so what I'm doing is, I'm taking my core classes basically, and then I'm taking the specified for airframe and specified for powertrain, it's just a few
Yes, ma'am.
extra classes, okay.
Depending on what you're headed for, but the level one certificate does require, I think, the BCIS course and the Cougar course.
Okay, could it be possible that these numbers have a student that has a level one airframe and a level one power plant? The same student?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Is there a number the number of students? So, for example, student A got both certificates in their 2 years or 2.5 years. But student B only got the airframe. So out of that 37 completers, is that 37 people or is that less than 37 people?
It could very well be less than 37 people. I didn't pull specific persons, I just looked at the stats.
If they got a certificate, that would be 37 people. It doesn't matter how many course tickets they took this match.
So
So those
one student
37
can't get two certificates?
One student can get two certificates.
That's her point.
So,
Thank you.
What
Yes.
she's asking you.
okay, so,
So it could be less than 37 people, but it
Yes,
might not
ma'am,
be.
it could, and very well may be.
Yeah,
Yes.
but it might not be.
But I just
Yeah.
wanted to honestly complete it,
Okay.
keep objecting with.
Right. Because you're being consistent here,
Yes,
because
ma'am.
904 seats and I'm sure they can't understand. This saddens me greatly because Sikorsky was something that we got here and we had 300 employees and employees, these students could get jobs and this saddens me that we lost Sikorsky. And then this is, of course, the next step.
Believe me, I wish I wasn't before you.
I wish you weren't either, and I wish Sikorsky was still there, and I wish all of these students could have jobs when they walk out of here at Chase, Indy. Unfortunately, we're not there.
The next page is just how I figured the state reimbursement rate, figured on census day, not by. There's a difference between the number of students that enroll and the number of students that finally wind up in the class. Okay, normally it goes down.
The
You may have-
reimbursement from the state is at census.
And the reimbursement of the state is based on census, not on enrollment.
And when is census taken?
Census is 12th day.
12th day of school?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so this is,
Then
we
we're
may have
sure-
had more people enrolled right up front and then they dropped.
Yes.
Gotcha.
And not, normally goes down. And not this program. Finally is the printout from the Career One Stop of the search that I made. Please feel free to go through it. I've listed every one of the listings that I was able to find on this website, which again is the U.S. Department of Labor website.
Can we talk a little bit about the teacher out, if we did choose to close this program?
Yes, ma'am.
Have we done this before?
We've done teach outs. Yes, ma'am. we have.
Okay, all right, so this isn't the first time we've ever done it.
No, ma'am, I'm
Okay.
thinking pharmacy tech and,
How would we go about doing this? I mean, what would be the procedure for this?
well, to try and do it as expeditiously as possible, would be a good way to do it. Because that way, we were able to, close the program, if that's what we have to do. And we can get the students out much quicker. Now, of course, we're gonna do whatever the board tells us to do, when it does come to a teach out. We can get them, there's several different options out there, that we can come up with for the board.
What would be the best for the students?
Well, that's a good question. And in my opinion, to allow them to get through the program as fast as possible. But I'm sure that there are those that would disagree. If we did it like, if we put it together like, like a program that you're going through at ITT or something, they would be stacked. One class would be X amount of weeks, and then the next class, and then the next class. 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, 40 hours a week.
It's just that this is, a lot of these students are working,
Some of them are.
and some,
We did do
So I have
degree, we did do degree audits with them, and believe it, the VP sat down with everyone.
and how many students do we have that work full-time,
I don't know.
part-time?
That information I don't know. I know that they work.
And we're dealing with 13 students, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am, it's my understanding there are
And the
13.
number of classes, do they need 4 more classes, 10 more classes, 2 more classes? I mean, I know this is hard because you probably,
I don't have that, I do have that information, I apologize, I don't have it with me. I did not leave it, only because I didn't know we were going to get so specific into the teach-out plans. I didn't want to put the cart before the horse. We're going to develop whatever teach-out plan that we're told to develop, whether it's a year long or whether it's 4 months long.
Let me ask a follow-up question then, because I've heard from some of the students that they've already had a sit-down to discuss an expedited program.
Yes,
You know,
it's my understanding they have with the VP.
Okay, let me ask a question.
Not an expedited program, but the possibility of deactivation and how many, a degree audit, how many more courses they're gonna need, and how
Yes,
many
a
courses.
degree
I'm simply telling him what I've heard from the students, so
If
if
he's
you'll.
saying yes, expedited, no, it was not
And
shared.
I
Well, I believe what
It's not
they
the-
discussed was, 8 hours a day, 5 days a week. I believe that that's what the students told me. Certainly.
It's recorded.
Okay. Now,
And who told them that?
with whom did they have those meetings with the vice
They
president?
met with the vice president of instruction.
So, we've already started talking to the students about the mechanics of the teach out, or at least somebody has. Would that be safe to say? Would that be correct?
No, and it should not be happening as the mechanics of a teach-out. It is a proposal to the board of a potential deactivation of the program and what impact that might have, and the concerns they shared about assuming that we would just drop the program altogether. No, we would not drop the program altogether. There is
I think that was the overall fear, was that we're gonna waive that.
The concern that I heard, and that you guys would have, I'm certain, have heard tonight, and will probably hear at the next board meeting, the concern that I heard was that the teach out was going to be much more stringent than regular offerings, regular schedule. It was gonna be compressed, which would probably bring a great deal of hardship. That's what you were asking
No,
about.
what I got from the newspaper, and I didn't hear any of that. I heard these young men and their parents all expressing concern about the program being going away
Right.
completely
without
without,
them
But
having.
then
without them having
following
an
that-
opportunity to finish.
Following that meeting, the concerns that were expressed to me were
See, I
dealing
wasn't
with
there.
that. Right, but I'm simply saying that they were discussed, the students met with Vice President Wagner. And what they left with the impression of was that they would be, 8 hours a day, 5 days a week. And I think that the concern that I heard from them went beyond program closure, but, literally kicking them out the door. And it didn't sound to me like we were putting students first, if that was the case, which is why I'm asking you.
And
Did
that's not
they
the
have
case,
such a
right?
meeting?
There is no movement in that until the board takes the action on what we do with this program.
So
We'd
has
be
Dr.
putting the cart before the horse if we did that.
Why did Dr. Wagner meet with the students individually then?
Because we had heard concerns from them before any information went out that the program was just gonna be closed down. And he met with them to let them know, no, we're not gonna close it down. We're looking at your transcript and doing a degree audit to see what else you're gonna need to complete the program.
And that was my understanding.
Okay, I don't believe that impression was carried across very well then.
Dr. Espinoza, how would we go about doing a teach out, can you kind of help us through how that would work?
We'd, look at each
If
one
we
of the
said we have to
students.
do this, which breaks my heart, but if we have to do this, then what would happen?
The next step would be that we would contact every student, let them know that the board did take this action, and so we're now in the process of deactivating the program. Here's a timeline we're looking at. We're looking at having a degree audit with their individual coursework and transcript to see where they're at to completion of their current program. And we'll present some options to them at that point.
And so how much longer would the program last if
The
that were
majority
done?
of students from the initial degree audit review was, as you heard from them at the meeting, was 5 courses. So
5
it could include
courses?
summer and fall.
So 8 hours a day, 5 days a week?
And that is one option that could be considered if they want to get into the job market quickly.
But
That is
that's
not
not-
the only option.
Who's gonna do that?
Yeah, I was simply sharing with you the concerns that have been shared with me, and I don't believe they discussed any other options from the student's perspective with whom I spoke. The only option that was discussed with them was an expedited closure, and it did come up as a topic in the meeting. It wasn't just a degree audit, and that part I understood from the beginning. So that's my real concern here, is that we are indeed doing like we say we're gonna do, and putting the students first. Want to make sure that they have an opportunity to receive the training the way that it should best be delivered, not for, hurrying up and taking them out the door.
I agree.
Mr. Massey, go for what it's worth.
Yeah.
No set plan has been determined.
Okay,
I was not there when the VP was talking.
I'm aware of that. Thank you.
But there are many ways to approach this. We can do it from that fast plan all to others. We just have to be able to, I think we need to be able, if we're going to close this program, I don't think that we need to stretch it out any longer than we possibly have to, without interfering with the student.
I agree, especially without having to interfere with the student.
Well, we also need to make sure that that's a reasonable thing.
Right. No, I'm with you.
Right, and I think we do need to look at, what the needs of the students are, so if they can't complete the coursework, whether it's going to be a job in Texas or in Washington, doesn't matter where, because a lot of our people, anybody who goes to a university or college, they go to get trained, and it doesn't necessarily mean it's gonna be a local job. And I think that is the primary function of any educational system, is to prepare our students for the job market, whether it's in Alaska, Germany, wherever. My dad lived overseas and we lived overseas for years. So, and I think that we need to continue to provide our students with opportunities that are going to help them move forward so that they can become taxpayers, just like we are, and to be able to take care of their families in a decent manner. That's just my opinion, for whatever it's worth.
If you don't mind my asking, this particular report that you brought us,
Yes, sir.
when were you asked to produce this?
To produce the report.
Yeah, this report. I know you said that you had worked on it.
The specific one?
Well, the one that you were going to
We've been
present.
working on
before.
on looking at the aircraft program since, like I said, since before December.
Okay, and that was in conjunction with the program review?
Yes, sir.
The reason I asked is because, I appreciate your report, I appreciate the data. It's a lot of information to go over. There's a lot of other information that we've received, a number of board members from other sources, and that's, a lot to swallow. But I guess that kind of goes into my next question, which is similar to the one about the students having had a meeting, was why did this board find out that we were thinking about closing this program by having students come to open comments rather than it being brought before us as something that was a concern that we were considering doing? Because I don't like to be surprised in H-E-B and Walmart by students coming up who've just had their lives shaken loose. And I was absolutely ignorant of the possibility that we were closing that program.
Different sets of information have been shared with the board without the data. It had not come to a public meeting. The only action the board had taken was a personnel action.
So the intent was that we would bring this at the May meeting. It got ahead of us, the paper wrote a couple articles, we had to respond, lots of misinformation out there. So the request was made to consider a special board meeting so that we could bring the information before the board, before anything else got out of hand, and information was out there.
So that's why we had a special meeting, to help everybody understand
And
where it's coming
how
from.
did the inaccurate information get out there?
That I do not know.
It either was created out of thin air or Dr. Wagner started it. Am I not right? Isn't that how I heard about it? I mean, either,
Well, that might be an issue for us to discuss at a different time, but,
you're asking and
I
I'm
was,
just saying what I heard.
well, that was an answer, for sure, and I appreciate it. You know, I think that this is a lot of information, and I don't think that it would be appropriate for us to take action on this evening. And as I said, I would very much like if we could continue this on the agenda for the next regular board meeting, including public comments. I also wanted to ask you, how much did the instructor assist in the preparation of this and in the discussion? I know he's worked with you on program review for years, but as far as the closeout, et cetera,
I had no cooperation from the instructor,
none.
none.
Why not? We're talking about his students here that need to be taken care of. Why is he not cooperating with you?
He chose not to cooperate.
Meaning he wouldn't speak to you, or?
No, we speak.
He was never asked.
Yes, sir, he was.
No, he was not.
Yes, he was.
Nor
I'm
did
not
he
here to argue
receive his
with you, sir.
evaluation or program review.
I guess we'll agree to disagree.
We need to,
So unless there's other questions, that's the information the administration has for the board on the inactive and the site technology.
I've got a couple basic questions. I'm sorry, this has gone way far afield. And so I'm gonna draw us back. Is there any belief, Mr. Baird, that the lack of that FAA certification was a cause of our low enrollment to any extent?
No, sir, I don't believe so.
Now that, and when did we get the FAA certification, in 14 or 13?
No, it was,
Or just this year?
it was this semester,
Okay,
We got it last year to apply this year.
yes.
okay. And, but administration doesn't believe that that played a deciding role in the low enrollment that you've seen in this program?
No, sir, I don't believe so.
And maybe I'm incorrect in saying there's low enrollment in this program. I don't know, it's not intentional.
I think you're correct.
Second is, are we looking at, are you asking us to consider this, terminating this program, based on in all due respect to all y'all that are in the crowd, this is a difficult situation, and certainly you guys are much more emotionally invested in it than I am. We wanna make the right decision, but any comments that I make are not intentional, they're not directed to y'all. It's just difficult for everybody here to try to figure out what the right decision is, so no disrespect intended in this, but is the decision to terminate the program, is it based primarily on from a fiscal standpoint, from the college's financial standpoint? Is that why y'all are looking at it, because it's not making money for the college, because having this program, in addition to the other programs, is preventing us from providing adequate resources to other programs that carry more support?
Yes,
Is that why we're here?
I don't know of another reason why we would.
Right. So we're, that's the basis. The basis is no matter how good of a program it may be, no matter how good of an instructor we may have, the certifications, the fact that we do have a dedicated group of current students, just from an economic standpoint, the college can't continue, in the administration's opinion, on with this course, given the past history and current interest in the program. Is that it?
Yes.
Did I miss anything?
No, sir.
Okay. I wish I had a smart follow-up question, but I don't.
I do,
See the
I do,
floor.
since you brought us back, thank you. You know, because I was always in academics, I don't know much about workforce. But if I was to look at other workforce programs and look at their enrollment numbers, could I basically use the same formula that's in this to see how their funding matches up as well? Or is aviation just totally different?
Yeah.
So if I take the numbers from another workforce program and process them the way they've been processed here, it'll give me a really close indication of how they're.
Over a period of time. Realize, we don't look at low enrollment in 1 year. That's an anomaly. You may go from 22 to 12. It's how many times does that happen, or over the spread of semesters or years, before it really starts to get attention? And that's what has happened in this particular program. It's not the instruction, it's not the student. It's the fact that we're not growing, haven't grown. I understand that there are projections that there's 12 students in the fall semester. Well, let's wait to count day. Because count day is what tells us how many students are in that program, not how many signed up for it months before.
I think that, I had also heard, since you mentioned count day, I had heard that we have shut down, we're not accepting any students into those courses at present, is that correct?
We have the schedule on hold for different programs. This one is one of those. The students that are in the program all have a reserved seat. It's not gonna be a situation.
But if we did have an influx of students, they'd just be turned away at this point, as of today. Somebody
No,
came
the
in.
advisors are aware that if there is an influx,
So what do we tell the students? I mean, what do the advisors do? Maybe that's a
they
discussion
get
for another
contact
day.
information.
All right. Well, I just wanted to know, because I wanted to look, you know, apples to apples, and I appreciate all that.
Yes, sir.
Was that an intelligent follow-up question?
I thought so.
Okay.
Really, Jeff?
Dee Dee disagrees, but I don't. I think it's quite rude.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
So the question before us then, basically from Tracy's question, is whether we see the fiscal responsibility of closing the program or not.
Yeah, that's what it comes down to.
The data that I was provided by Dr. Bear shows that it's fiscally not possible to keep it open. Do y'all see something different? Am I missing it?
While I agree that Dr. Bear's presentation included all the information he had available, I would still like to table any action until the next meeting. I'd like to have an opportunity to review this information, and I would like for the public to have an opportunity to make comments before we render a decision.
Well, we heard quite a few comments at the last meeting.
And we did, and I think there are quite a few more we should hear.
The issue at the last meeting though was, most of the comments had to do with the fact that they weren't gonna be allowed to finish their program, and that never was any intent. Because we never have done that. And so, I agree that, maybe after having heard this, we won't have to, listen to things that don't really pertain, and so there could be a possible reason to listen. I'm not, as long as, rather than, and that was why I suggested we hear this information first, rather than just have people comment without having heard this information. Well, then
So primarily what we're saying is that the individuals that, well, what we're looking at is that the individuals who are currently enrolled in the program would be able to complete the program? Is that correct?
That is correct.
And so, the other situation would be that more than likely, because of the loss of funds, there would not be any more new entries into the program, but at least the individuals who are already there would be guaranteed the opportunity to complete. Am I correct?
Yes, ma'am, you
Yes.
are correct.
And that is a requirement. I mean, it's not just something we do, but we're responsible for it. That's a requirement of the state. It's a requirement of our accrediting body, and as you heard, it's a requirement of FAA.
Sure, and I agree with that. I just wanna make sure that, we just kinda like, okay, this is what we're looking at. It's not like, okay, you're done by, so.
The issue then would be, should the board decide to deactivate the program. The issue then would be how to best go about the teach out. And I think we would need to hear comment from those involved. And I would hope we would do it that way. If a expedited teach out was too difficult, too fast, it wasn't gonna work, then I would hope we would listen to that. And I think we would, at least I hope we will. You know, it would be a question of how best to proceed for the people that are involved, not just the quickest way to end it. That's not the goal at all, as I would see it.
Well, and I was looking for direction from the board on, do you want me to start that process of deactivation? Because otherwise, I'd be misleading the students if I started that process without the authorization of the board.
Yeah.
If you don't want me to deactivate the program, then we'll continue as we are, but it's
And I
going to
think
be
that was,
costly.
wanted to comment, that's one of the reasons for having the special meeting was because of the information, misinformation, whatever it happens to be that's out there, that we needed to be able to proceed, and without a direction to the administration from the board, they can't really do anything. And so that's why we had the special meeting rather than waiting until the 20th of May. That was the reason behind it, and so that they would know, well, should we proceed with interviews with the students, or if we're not gonna deactivate it, then there's no need to do that. You know, the administration really can't proceed without guidance from us, direction from us.
Well, it seems to me, based on what the students have told me, that that's not actually what happened, that we have started to proceed. And I think we need to, as a board, nip that in the bud. But I think that there's a lot of data to see. I talked to Dr. Espinosa, and she told me that when I first heard this rumor, which is how I found out that the program was going on, and I spoke with her, and she told me that I asked if the instructor had found out in the same way that I had, and she told me, no, he's been part of the conversation about a teach out. But then, you know, you said that he has been no cooperation at all. I'm hearing different things, and the fact that I heard about it through the rumor mill rather than through official channels as a board member makes me want to put the brakes onto rendering any decision until I've heard officially from the instructor, and perhaps also officially from the students, so we can make sure that that they don't get churned up in this machine.
I guess my concern is, from a fiscal standpoint, you know, we're here because of the fiscal problems this college got itself into not very long ago, and thank you for correcting on my math, it was off. But we also have to plan what we're gonna do in the future as they do. They've got to decide whether they're gonna stay here or leave. So we're looking at another semester of teaching, and they would be finished. That would give them their certificates in airframe.
I think several of them were advised that they have certificates that they can complete, but some of them had registered to get their AAS. There are different.
And we know already that they've registered to get their AAS?
Yeah, they would
They
have
had
discussed
done
that with their advisors.
And who
That's
was
what
their
I'm hearing
advisor?
from the student. Well, it would have been.
Right,
yeah.
so everybody's gonna get an AAS in this program, I bet.
Got one that needs PowerPoint.
No, I don't, no.
No?
I think you're stretching there.
Well, I'm just saying.
Mr.
this.
Chairman, may I take the floor for a moment? Thank you, sorry to interrupt you too. Mr. Bear, there's 13 current students.
Yes, sir, that's my understanding.
I thought some of the students were just getting started in the program. Is that what, guys?
Yes,
sorry.
sir, I believe there's at least one student that's only got a couple hundred, so.
And so we can't wait, guys. Again,
Maybe more.
but and it's okay.
I'm sorry, I don't have the exact figures.
Passion's run high. But with respect to any teach out plan that we might try to task the administration with figuring out, or I thought I just heard that we confirmed that we're gonna try to find a way to get all 13 students through that, even the one that, is there any, there's no practical way they can get that done in one semester, is there? No. No, Dr. Fair, I mean, Mr. Fair, you're the only one talking too much
Thank
right
you.
now.
Is it possible?
Well, realistic, based on, there's 13 kids, so we ought to know, so no
Again,
disrespect, 13,
With all due
students.
respect, I would have to look at a teach-out plan,
Okay.
see what's reasonable, see how fast, but how affable we can be towards the student. I mean, it's, of course we wanna help the student, and I know that they believe that we don't, and I understand their concern, but we do wanna help the student. If we close this program, we have not only a duty imposed of us by the state and the FAA, but I think we have a conscientious duty to help them get through this program as expeditiously as possible without making it go 2 years.
Well, I mean, I've seen the numbers,
There's a happy medium there somewhere. I'm sure that we can reach it.
and I don't think the numbers are gonna change.
I
I'll do
still,
respect.
yeah, I understand that.
But I believe the crux of the matter is not necessarily whether we're gonna keep it open or closed. I think the crux of the matter is how we're gonna teach it out. So I think if we can make the decision tonight of opening it or keeping it open or closed, then it's the best thing to do for the college and the students. And then come May 20th,
Correct.
okay, 20th, then we can maybe hear a teach-out plan that the students have been talked to, the students have been consulted, the students, everybody knows where the students are and who, I mean, we don't, but Dr. Bear, Dr. Espinoza, whoever works it out, the instructor, to figure out, it's gonna take us a year, it's gonna take us a semester, it's gonna take us 6 months. I don't know. I think the crux of the matter is, should we go on and make that decision tonight, up or down, and then we work, because I think the issue is not whether we're gonna close it, because I think the numbers pretty much tell us that. The question is, how are we gonna teach it out?
The closeout data is flawed. It's based on two different programs. The Sikorsky was a non-certified program. The current program is a certified program that has only been in operation for 2 cycles of power plant and 1/2 cycle of airframe. It is brand new,
And your numbers haven't changed.
but it's brand new.
Let me interrupt
So
for
we're gonna
just a
stick more
second.
money
At
into
this
it.
time.
No, it has enough.
I'm gonna keep this up here, that we're not accepting comments from the
See, there's-
floor at this time.
There, I think that there is a different perspective, that prior to us rendering a decision that's gonna impact the program and the students, that we take some time and we give the students who are involved an opportunity to present before us, even if it's only in public comments. I think that it costs us very little to deliberate a little longer than it could potentially cost us by rushing this.
Well, my question is then, what is the time frame for a teach-out? Is it something that you have to, does it take 2 months to figure out, does it take a week to figure out, does it take 6 months?
To execute or to determine?
To determine what it is,
Determine.
and does it have to be approved by the board? And then therefore, if it has to be approved by the board, then how much time frame does it take? Because we're wasting time for those students.
I don't think that it usually is something that would come before the board, but considering the circumstances of how this has bubbled up, I think it's important that we do ask that it come before
Well,
the board.
then it's not fair to the students if we drag this out all summer.
I don't think we should drag it out all summer.
Okay, so,
I don't think it's fair to the students to rush to a decision without giving them an opportunity. They've given us up their money and their time. Share their concerns with us about the teach out prior to us simply having something determined for them. I think that considering the nature of how this has come about, it's important that we as a board listen to what they have to say. And since they weren't afforded that opportunity this meeting, my time is pretty cheap. So I don't mind having another special meeting if we can include in that an opportunity for them to present their concerns to the board. Because we have heard a great deal of misinformation, and I think we need to nip that in the bud, and the only way to do that is to be transparent and give the stakeholders an opportunity to share their concerns. That's why I would move that we postpone taking an action on this until we have another scheduled special meeting, that way we're not dragging it out all summer. And I would like to hear from the program instructor, and I'd like to hear from the students. I am sure that we're gonna hear different information. At that point, we will have to make a decision. It might not go in the way of every student, it might not go in the way of the administration, but we will at least have both eyes open.
Well, and I think not only the students, because it's important what the
Oh,
students
come on.
have to say, but I think Dr. Bear also, you know, they need to get together. We need to know, how long is it gonna take? That needs to be researched, you know, how long would it take for the last student to be able to get their certification? And I think we've caught you off guard, Dr. Bear, with some of our questions and comments without having been able to have the opportunity to have researched it, you know, not any disrespect to you, you've done a great job up there. I think we put you in kind of a difficult position. I agree with you, I think we need to hear what's going on with the students, but we also need to put all information together before we do make a firm decision on this.
But the reason we're, I think, putting him in a bad position is because we haven't officially tried to determine what a teach-out program should be. I'm not saying there wasn't
Right,
something going on, but I'm saying we haven't
Right.
because Dr. Espinosa was waiting to know whether or not we would deactivate the program, because if we're not, then there's no reason to talk about that.
right,
So-
but before we
so
can
that's where
deactivate the
issue
program,
comes in.
wouldn't we need to see like, okay, how long is it going to take? You know, what is the amount of time? I think somebody else said, you know, how long is it gonna take for us to get everybody done?
Can I rise to a point of order? Is there a motion on the floor?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, we have a motion that we postpone making a decision on whether to deactivate the program or not, and until we have another meeting, whether it's a special meeting or at the next regular meeting. I don't know whether did you specifically say a special meeting or
Either one,
either one?
whatever is in the best interest of the students involved.
So it's a motion to table until,
Until we either
Subsequent
have a
meeting.
special meeting or at the next regular meeting. That's the motion that's on the floor.
That's correct, thank you.
Is there a discussion?
Is there first, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, now we have a second for that motion. Now, discussion.
Is there a problem with any of you listening to their comments tonight? They're all here, they're ready to go, they thought they were gonna be able to do it, I think, so, I mean, we've heard, because it's kind of been back and forth from the audience. Is there anybody here who's gotta be somewhere the next hour? I
Just a
brought
dinner.
salad, y'all are just gonna be
Just
hungry.
dinner.
I'm not certain, I don't have any place to go.
Does anybody
The-
object to that,
the
so we can
issue-
take care of it tonight and get it, so we can get on down the road? I just hate that, they need to know where they're gonna go to school, what they're gonna do with their lives, and I just think it's wrong for us to make them sit around and worry about it for another 2 weeks, or, I don't know what y'all's schedules are though, I'm sorry, I have the right to change my mind.
he's got time. Martha, can we do that?
That's what I was fixing to say.
Why
Can
can't
we
we-
do that?
If we didn't put it
Oh,
on the
it's not-
agenda.
Because it's not on the agenda, it's-
Otherwise, I would say, yeah, absolutely, let's get this thing done.
That was what I was gonna tell you, Martha, is I don't think we can do that in this position.
Dr. B,
Without
May
having
20
public comment.
is our next
Regular board.
regular meeting. And you and Mr. Bear can equally answer this question. For purposes of formulating whatever it is that we've been discussing tonight with respect to teach out and plans and whatnot, if forbearance until that meeting for us to make a decision whether or not the board decides to tell you to go forth and do it or to hold off and not do it, is that amount of time from today to whatever date that is that going to put the administration in a position where they can't get this plan rolled out?
May 8th is our deadline to get minute orders in place and reviewed before they go out to the board before the regular meeting.
No.
So we're not talking May 20th. May 8th is our deadline to get all this information together so that it can be set up for the board book. Unless,
I see, because it's a two-step
Present it.
it's a two-step process, right? So tonight we're, there's a possible action on whether or not to deactivate or whatever the euphemistic term is for terminating the program. And then the second decision that would be made is you guys would have direction to go do your teach out plan.
if you take action to deactivate and then you direct me that by the May 20th meeting, you need a teach-out plan, then I can be ready for it. If you don't take action right now and you postpone that action for another special meeting or the May 20th meeting, then you'll see the agenda item at that point, and then we'll need some time to put the teach-out plan.
And I think part of his question was, is the May 20th meeting too long to allow you to formulate a plan to be ready for summer sessions and that kind of thing? That would,
No, we could work with, I mean, the sooner the better. We have name master starting right after graduation, so the sooner the better. But if that's not the direction of the board, we will hold off and work with the days that we do have.
Well, I wanna know what y'all need.
I
We
need
need
direction
us to make an
on,
up
if
down
you're ready
decision on
to give me direction to deactivate the program. I don't wanna get out there, cause the reporter's gonna ask me as soon as we get out of here, what are you gonna do next? Well, I can't do anything if nothing's changed, if you haven't given me direction as a board to deactivate the program. I can do certain things, if I get that direction, then I'll know exactly what our next steps are, and I can, provide that information. At this point, I can't provide him anything different than what we already have to try to get ahead of the misinformation that's out there.
If we hold off making a decision, which is the motion that's on the floor, and we come back again, does it constrain your timeline
It does.
such that you cannot get done what you need to get done for if we decide to terminate the program?
If it's a week out, possibly not. If it's more than that, yes, it will be very limited time frame. And like you said, we need to meet with every student, some of them work, there's different schedules we have to accommodate.
so then, just listening to that, it would be, we probably should meet again before the May 20th one, is what I just heard.
That's what I was trying to get at, so
But how
if,
soon after is my concern. The longer you put it out, the more difficult it will be to make that, accommodation.
72 hours
We
from
cannot meet
tomorrow.
within, I mean, the earliest would be 72 hours after you post the agenda. That's the soonest you can meet, so that means Friday, I guess. It's the soonest you can meet, so you're either looking at either Friday or again Monday, I guess, I don't know what y'all's schedules are. Fridays are not the greatest days to have meetings for anybody. So we could probably look at next Monday. Is it, what about people's schedules for next Monday?
And I'll, for the purposes of y'all sitting in the crowd, again, I don't mean this, I don't wanna be the one telling you this, I don't anticipate that what y'all have to say is going to change the recommendation, my decision with respect to the recommendation of administration, but I wanna try to give you guys the opportunity to at least say your piece, and I want you to feel that opportunity has been ripped away from you. I think I speak for everybody on the board when we don't wanna be sitting here doing this, we know this is an important deal to you. And so that's why I'm trying to think about it, Chairman. Maybe if next Monday is something that is amenable, maybe the motion could be amended so that it provides a specific date. I have a problem with tabling this, given what I just said, to some unspecified date in the future.
Yeah, I
I
think
don't think
we
it's
need
fair
to.
to administration, I don't think it's fair to anybody.
Then I would amend my motion that we table this until a special meeting to be held next Monday. And we can include on the agenda for that meeting public comments and allow the students and the instructor to make whatever presentations they feel they should make. And we can have Dr. Bear come back, because he loves this. He looked very nice.
Well, instead of asking the students and the instructor to do it on public comments, why don't we put them on
And
an
we can
agenda
put them on
item?
an agenda item.
And let them speak first, and give them X amount of time to meet, and then we can deliberate for this, and that way, we don't have to do public comments.
I like that even better. But I do,
But
at
you
some
gotta
future
amend- you gotta-
time.
you gotta amend
Okay,
your
then I will
motion again.
amend my motion again. I move that we postpone taking action on the agenda item tonight, and that we postpone that action until next Monday at a special meeting. with the agenda, including those
A
points that
presentation
you,
by the,
by the instructor and the students. And, I guess you can gather all their information to put it on there pretty,
Well,
on the agenda.
I don't wanna edit anything and then be claimed
Oh,
that
no,
I
I
was.
meant on the agenda.
I censored stuff.
Making it an agenda item, I meant.
Oh, we'll set the agenda up, that's
Okay.
easy, it's a featured presentation and they'll do their
motion
program.
again to change it?
Yeah, I just moved that we postpone rendering a decision until next Monday's special meeting, at which time we'll be able to hear from the students and the faculty and of course.
And their presentation will be part of the agenda, not public comment.
Right.
That's my motion,
Now,
that's it.
A second.
you second it, so rather than go through all of that amendment process, is it okay with the two people that made it, that that's your motion and that's your second?
That's my motion.
I'm good.
Because that's gonna, there's a lot of steps to go through that we don't necessarily need to do. Okay, so we have a motion on the floor that we postpone taking action on this agenda item until next Monday at a meeting at 5:30, at which time the special meeting agenda will be program deactivation, but part of that presentation will be a presentation by the instructor and also by the students. And we had a second for that motion. Is there further discussion on that motion? Not, then we need to vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say nay. Motion passes. So then we will call a special meeting for next Monday at 5:30. And the item on the agenda will be this same program with input from the,
Plus, a decision will be made at that. There will be a motion, there will be an agenda item for
Information and
Right.
action.
Right.
as an action.
Got it, the information in there, action.
See, I haven't been teaching for 2 years now, and I just gave all these guys homework.
Since that was the only item on the agenda, I'm not gonna ask for a motion to adjourn, but I will declare the meeting adjourned.
You guys-
But we're doing it in the auditorium, there'll be 2 sessions.